Folks, hello. Hope you're having a good week. It is Thursday. It is time for some more 40k hobby rantage. And this time, for the first time in a little while, I've asked you to get involved and to help me. Every now and again, I will put a brief on the YouTube channel, on the community page of the YouTube channel, on our posts, asking you to get involved and give me your thoughts so I can read them out on the channel and maybe give my thoughts on your thoughts. I always give you a brief. And this time you had 24 hours. Well, a little bit longer than that, to be honest with you. Let's have a little look at it, shall we, before we get started. Here it is. You'll see one of these every so often on our community page here on YouTube, on our posts part. And it says, be involved in a video. Folks, you have 24 hours to answer this simple brief in as much or as little detail as you like for our next video if you want to be in it. And it goes as the brief. What are the worst and best parts of the wargaming hobby for you? It doesn't have to be Warhammer 40,000 related, just give your thoughts. That was the brief, right? And I think we're going to have a really good time going through these and jumping off and doing some discussion, as we do on the channel from time to time, about the hobby and its general direction. Again, doesn't have to be 40k related, but let's jump in, shall we, and have a little look-see at what people said. We had 14 responses, which I was very, very, very happy with. Because I only left it up for a little while. I didn't want too many. I always feel really bad when I don't get to read people's out, because there are certain ones of this where we've had like 300 responses. I can't read all those out, so that's why I limited it to 24 hours, and I'm jumping straight into recording the video. You were warned. If you missed it, you were warned. Have a look out for next time. Maybe you'll make it on the video. So, let's jump on with Reverend Demo 899844, who says, I think the best element is the pure hit of creativity you get from it. Being able to just try something for the hell of it, build something because you want to, make up stories and scenarios to fit your new creations, or make up stories and scenarios that drive the creative production itself. It's a brilliant place to flex your imagination. Just have fun in and create something, anything you like. Anything for pure enjoyment's sake. That is what you've just described there, Reverend, is the hobby. Not just this hobby, any hobby. Any hobby where you can create something, whether it be writing, whether it be painting, whatever, right? Any hobby where you can do that, that's what you've just described, and I completely agree. That is one of the main reasons why I got into the hobby. One of the first things I started doing, I remember writing a campaign pack for me and my friends to play through when I was, like 13, 14, right? It's just... And that's the fun part of White Dwarf, by the way. The best part of White Dwarf is when it's talking to you about how to build cool things for yourself. I don't really read White Dwarf for new rules or even battle reports. There are better battle reports online on YouTube. I don't really read it for that, I read it for how the studio itself... There's one thing in White Dwarf called the bunker. I don't know whether you guys have read this yet, but it is really, really, really cool. And it's just the guys in the studio going through their campaign as in the studio and different things that they're working on. And I've noticed it all seems to be narrative-driven. Even their campaign seems to be quite narrative-driven. They don't give you in-detail battle reports. Instead, they show you what's happening on the war at a macro level and at a story level, rather than saying this guy rolled a -1 to hit and things, And it works really, really, really well. So, yeah, I agree, Reverend. The worst thing is anything that takes that away from you. Be it people that take the hobby too seriously, want to criticize anything that deviates from their idea of what the hobby is, and just plain old a-holes that want to try and own enjoyment of something and force you to do things their way. Okay. I agree. I'm not so certain how often this comes up. Maybe for other people it comes up all the time. I have no idea. But for me, this hasn't really come up for me too much going through life in the hobby. I've certainly seen it once or twice when people say, the most famous version I say is when one of my friends is playing Blood Angels and somebody came up to him and said he painted his Blood Ravens wrong. Things like that. Yeah, that can kind of sap it away from you, make you go, for God's sake, why am I even doing this? Do you know what I mean? I kind of feel that's a bit of a swipe at tournament players. I am not sure. If it is, kind of unfair, because I think a lot of tournament players are there to play the game, right? I think a lot of tournament players get a bad reputation for wanting to win all the time and only caring about winning. I don't think that's kind of the case at all. I think a lot of tournament players go there because they want to experience the game for what it is, in its rawest form, right? And that's what tournaments are. There are definitely people at tournaments who are overly competitive. There are definitely people at tournaments who are, a bit much when it comes to stretching what's fun and what isn't. But for the most part, they're all right. But I agree with your entire sentiment, though, Reverend. I think all of this, spot on. Absolutely. All of that, spot on. By the way, I'm not going to say anybody's opinion is just wrong here, because it's your opinion. But I will give you my 10 pennies worth, you know what I mean? Ivelios303 says, for me, the best thing, telling fun stories with you and your opponents, models, as well as game-relevant conversation. Creating fun scenarios and all round having a fun time with a fellow wargamer. Making friends. Alright, yeah, cool. The back and forth over the tabletop. I have noticed it is pretty cool, man. It is pretty cool. You do get a weird camaraderie with your opponent. And I think when I get hobby nightmares, when people say, my opponent was really quiet, was only interested in winning, wasn't really doing anything, was just there to tell me what saves I had to make. What they're missing is what you're describing. They're not saying I want my opponent to be this amazing dude who's just going to change my life. No. They want base wargaming camaraderie is what they want. They want to go back and forth over the tabletop, right? The normal way you play wargaming, in my opinion. And the worst, according to Evelios, watching my favourite factions get gutted of fluff and models, having opponents that seek to power game every rule, playing on the same 3 board layouts because they are suggested ways to play, what the game is balanced around. Yeah, okay. This is a 40k problem, alright? This guy hasn't even said 40k. This is a 40k problem. This isn't a wargaming problem. This is a 40k problem, alright? 40k is very much guilty of saying, here's how we suggest you play. That doesn't work for me. Don't put that in your games. If you're going to write a war game, or you're going to write a role-playing game, don't say, this is how I suggest you do it. Don't put suggestions in, put rules in. Because suggestions are just grey areas where you can say, well, it was only a suggestion, but I didn't tell anyone to be that toxic. No, mate. Look. Write rules that are black and white. No grey areas, black and white. That's what you should be doing. Don't leave any interpretation. None. This means this, and this means this. Okay? Doing board layouts and saying these are what we recommend, or doing builds and saying these is what we recommend, all you're doing is you're saying to wargamers, do this. Because us wargamers, right, most of us have jobs, dude. Most of us are hard-working people. We've got other things to be getting on with. If we don't have to learn a rule set, we won't. And if we don't have to learn what's best for our army to get it on the tabletop to play it and have fun, we won't. So if you tell us we recommend doing this, that is what we're going to do verbatim. You may say, Games Workshop, that it's only a suggestion all you want. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because that's not how it's taken. Everybody goes, no, that's what you should be doing. Right? It's a cowardly way to write rules. Stop doing it. So I agree, Evelios. I agree with what you're saying here. Daemonic, who is a legend on the channel around here. They keep saying things on the channel, which is quite nice of them. Thank you. The best. For a couple of hours, I can forget about everything. I'm no longer dad or husband or somebody everybody wants to fix their problems. I can just be me and chill out, roll some dice, and with good people and have a good time. Yeah, that is a huge aspect, dude. Sorry, taking a quick drink there. That is a huge aspect, and I'm glad you brought it up. I really am glad you brought it up. That is, at least for me, boy, that is a biggie. That is a biggie. Quick health update. I've been on phone consultations with doctors over what happened the other week with my vomiting and vertigo. They think it is stress. You know, they've gone through every question with me, every health thing they could have asked me. They asked me. They're leaning towards it's stress. I'm getting a blood pressure machine sent to the house. I'm gonna be using that. Give them a few readings so that they've got some stuff to go on. Maybe I'll be on tablets for blood pressure. You never know. But they seem to think it's stress, and that's where it's going with that. They're not overly concerned with anything else. But, my God, man, do I get what you mean? Because since that's happened to me, I've been a bit of a hypochondriac. I've been a bit of a... I've been looking out for things in my own health that are, you know, alarming. Like I said, oh, am I having a dizzy spell now? You know, because it frightened me last Friday. It frightened me. You know, because it came out of nowhere. Vertigo, vomiting, whole 9 yards. So, if you don't know what I mean, watch Monday's video. You'll get what I mean. But since then, I've been like, every time I've stood up too quickly and I've gotten a bit, woo, like, you know, like you normally do when you stand up too quickly, I'm thinking, oh, is that it? Is it coming on again? Right? When I'm sitting down and I'm feeling hungry, I'm like, oh, am I feeling queasy right now? And my heart rate will go up, thinking, oh my God, is it happening again? That kind of thing, right? The other day, I felt really, really anxious about that happening again. And I felt like maybe, you know, I was getting a bit of a headache, and am I feeling... It's really, 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 really strange of a feeling. Am I feeling dizzy or not, right? I know I'm probably not. It's probably me being a hypochondriac, but am I feeling dizzy or not? And what I did was I sat down and I started painting. I started painting Warhammer. And I forgot all about it. And those symptoms, if they were there at all, went away. Because my mind was totally transfixed on being a painter of models. That's all I was doing. I had to concentrate on what I was doing. And when I say concentrate, it's not taxing on the mind. That's the key thing. That's the key thing for meditation, right? Your mind isn't being taxed, but it is being occupied. Yeah? That's why when martial artists say, fighting is my meditation, well, those guys are so good at martial arts that when they're fighting another person, they're going through the motions, and their brain is empty. They're going on autopilot, right? Their mind is completely occupied with what they're doing, but it's not overly strenuous. Early on it is, because they're trying to remember what to do, right? But when they're really skilled, it is meditation, right? It's a form of meditation. When you're painting models, it is your mind is completely occupied with what you're doing. It has to be, right? Just by the act of painting, it has to be. But it's not very taxing. It's like your brain's just turning over, like you know, a little steam engine, and it's working out problems without you even realizing it, you know. So I get what you mean. Yeah, you're not husband, you're not father, you're not problem fixer. You're you being a general and rolling dice. Because again, wargaming, if you're really good at it, it can be one of those things as well. If you're really good at running your army, you are pretty much on autopilot, thinking about nothing. You're in the moment. You're in the moment with your opponent. That's terrific. Absolutely. Well done to you. Worst, it can be really time-consuming as a hobby, and I really struggle for the time above anything else. Building, painting, playing are all time-intensive. I wouldn't change it. It's part of the hobby by its nature, but it's the part I struggle with hugely. Dude, every working man in the comments just went, yeah, that's me too. Yeah, definitely. I feel your pain there. Pedno says, Pedno says, I think the best and worst is the community. While we deal with cheaters, cutthroats, and other toxic cretins, we also make fast friends who help lift others up, both in gaming and in the hobby. True. Very true. I would say there are far more positive than negative, right? I've said this to people before. When people say, oh my God, watching these hobby nightmares, should I even be involved in this hobby? And I say, dude, of course you should. If cheaters and scammers and, you know, toxic players were so prevalent in this hobby, I wouldn't have a show. Right? The reason why hobby nightmares exist is because hobby nightmares are quite rare. And we live vicariously through reading other people's hobby nightmares because they're hilarious to us. If they happened all the time, it wouldn't be fun to read them out or to listen to them, right? Don't worry about it. I honestly think there are far less toxic people than there are really cool people in this hobby. I really do. Tomo Lenar 3901 says, honestly, my favourite part is when people tell me my models are painted nicely. It's simple, but means a lot to me, as I spend quite a lot of time and effort getting them done. and I take pains to never bring models to a game unless they're 100% finished. Painting is my favourite part of the hobby, because no matter how the rules change, my models will still look cool. I also really enjoy teaching people how to use simple painting techniques to get a good looking army done quick, and seeing them have that wow moment when they finish their first model takes me back to when I started the game. Similarly, my least favourite aspect of the hobby is when people show up with unpainted plastic, sometimes unassembled even. I understand that it takes time to get an army together and it's okay to like 40k just for the game. But I wish those people would just stick to Tabletop Simulator if they're not going to put the effort into the physical hobby. It's not a deal breaker, and I have nothing against them personally, but it just breaks my immersion in the game. Controversial. There are going to be a lot of people out there who kind of disagree with that. I'm not one of them, right? I get what you mean, because if you put... I think what you've done here, Tomo, not only did you say, oh, I like painting, which is, who doesn't, right? What you've said is, I like to also teach others that painting isn't hard, right? There are certain techniques you can do to really batch paint a really cool looking force of whatever really quickly. So you kind of, you're an expert in removing that excuse from other people. Do you know what I mean? And so when you see somebody coming in with grey plastic and they put no effort into their models, one, they're probably not into the game for the same reasons you are, which sucks, right? That's number one. And number two, you know that it doesn't have to be that way, because you teach people that it doesn't have to be that way. So you know how little effort it actually takes to get their armies up to spec. I imagine if somebody turned up with a Necron force that was unpainted, you would blow your top, right? Because it's just, dude, your army is so easy to paint, what are you doing? That kind of a thing. But hey, you're doing well. I don't let it ruin the hobby for you. I don't think you are. But, yeah, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Gilbert 7110 says, the worst, I'm starting with the worst this time. From all the things that I've learned so far, or heard so far, and how I see people, the worst part is dealing with the wrong hobbyist. Hobbyist? I think you mean hobbyist. People, when they want, can be insufferable for the dumbest things. What was meant to be just a game or hobby discussion can destroy your hobby time and happiness, if not your reputation, to a serious degree. I think there's a story in there, Gilbert. Why wouldn't you send it in? Send that in. There's a story in here. Right? Something's happened to you, and I'd like to know what it is. And the best, when people get creative, and even better, also have talent. I think you and Tomo need to have a conversation. They can create such cool stuff that makes you want to be a part of that. Yeah, you definitely need to have a word with Tomo. In the comments, talk to each other. If not to do something similar, be it model conversations, tournaments, fan art, or their own lore, it can become something even better than what the owner of the IP has ever done. I agree. Battle Corps, Wild Bill. Best would have to be the lore. I'm a guy that enjoys a good story first, with building, painting, playing the actual game in second place. Worst would have to be the price and the time barrier to entry. I have a hard time making room in my hobby budget for the prices many war games require. Now, thank you, Bill, because you didn't just mention Games Workshop there. I brought this up in my video the other day. I said, listen, it's not... How do I put this? It's not just Games Workshop's problem. Prices, right? Prices across the board for wargaming supplies and wargaming models are ridiculous. Across the board. From Warlords to Games Workshop to whoever, right? Den of Imagination, whoever, right? They're all there, all doing the same, similar price points. So I get what you mean, right? The price can be extortionate. And the time too, yeah, again, I wish we all had a Tomo in our lives who could teach us very simple painting techniques to batch paint things and make sure that they look cool, but it doesn't always happen. So I agree, I get what you're saying there completely. Absolutely. Dookie Nuki 6725 says, the best, getting to meet up with friends or meet new people, seeing other people's models and how they look, plus getting to build and paint your own models, the fun shenanigans that can occur, giving me an excuse to leave the house and touch grass. Yeah, I have nothing, I have no comments there. I think that's all completely fine. Fun shenanigans that can occur. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I think another thing you're touching on there is the day out feeling. Okay, going to an event, like a hobby event, with your friends and having fun and really connecting with other people is a massive part of the hobby. And it's a part of the hobby that quite a lot of the time people tend to overlook. There are so many people in this hobby who like to be cool, quote-unquote, lone wolves. I'm just going to a tournament to play and I'm not going to make friends. I come across that all the time, that attitude. Doesn't work, dude. Doesn't wash. Doesn't wash. This hobby is about meeting other people. You try and make it about something else, you're not playing the same hobby as I am. Right? The whole point of wargaming to me is other people. Wargaming. Right? That's the key phrase. Right? I'm not just sitting at my desk painting. That's about me. Writing lore is about me. Painting models and putting them together is about me. And spending time with me, myself, and I. Maybe I'll do one or the two around other people every now and again, but mainly it's about, you know, my meditation, doing my own thing, indulging in my own creativity. But the phrase wargaming means you're doing it with other people. Yeah? If you're going to wargame with other people, you need to make sure that you're actually present for the other person. That you're touching grass, that you're meeting new people, that you're energized to be sociable. If you can't do that, there are many other ways that you can work on doing it and getting yourself up to that point. But this is what I'm saying, right? That there are ways and means of doing it. And far too many people these days are looking at the hobby wargaming and doing nothing about wargaming. They're going into a tournament, hardly saying two words to their opponents, and then wondering why nobody wants to play them again. It's like, well, it's wargaming, dude. It's sociable. We're talking to each other. We're helping each other out, right? That's what we do. Cons. The fact that it's mostly dominated by 40k, which is doo-doo shit-ass. Rules lawyers, cheaters, tournament players, and general snobs. Jackasses who have to try and somehow make it about their politics. The fact that the goddamn 40k community went so goddamn hard on harassing the Helldivers community when Space Marine 2 came out. Did that happen? Did that happen? Comment section down below. Did that happen? I don't remember that. But again, I'm not... No... Nuki, no shade here, right? But I'm not perpetually online, so I don't know whether that happened or not. I wasn't there. I'm not saying you are. You might have just come across it on a post somewhere, you know. But did that happen? Let me know. Comment section. I would like to know whether it happened or not. That genuinely interests me. Because I like both games. You know. I don't get why there needs to be vitriol between them. Don't get me wrong. The 40k community can be fucking annoying. I've said this from minute one on the channel. This is not a controversial thing for me to say. Those of you who've been around quite a lot will already know what I'm like here. I do find a lot of the meme lords in 40k, a lot of the people who liked the text-to-speech device videos a bit too much. Right? If you can quote every single fucking line from them when I'm playing a wargame with you, you're an irritating person, and I don't want to be around you. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You know, like, if I get Caldor Dry go out and you just stand there shouting quotes at me from the show, no. Like, you know, we'll have a little bit of a back and forth. Isn't that funny? Yeah, and we move on. But nah, dude. So I get what you mean. There are certain parts of the 40k community that are genuinely annoying. Yes. On both sides of the aisle, right and left. We're not doing political here. Yeah, but on both sides of the aisle, y'all are fucking annoying. Right? Political people, yeah, with you, Nuki. Right? I'm not getting involved in that. You're both as fucking annoying as each other, and you need to piss off and go elsewhere and do something else with your time. Because you're not welcome here. No one wants you here. Right? Far left, far right, nobody wants you here. No one. No one normal wants you here. So fuck off. Why don't we put you on an island, right? Maybe the Isle of Wight. Right? Let's take all the people off the Isle of Wight, put all these dickheads on there, and like Hunger Games, make them fight to the death for our amusement. For the amusement of all the normies. For like the 90% that are in the middle. To varying degrees of right and left, right? In the middle. All of us, right? We will watch And those other 5% on either side can fuck off and fight each other to the death for our amusement. So I agree with you on that one, Nuki, yes. Anyway, Wanton the Stormtrooper, thank you for being a part of the last World Eaters live stream rebuild on Sunday, Wanton. He says, this is a repost. The best parts. The ability to paint models your way and tell your own stories with them, and the many fantastic settings that they can represent. I agree. We've covered that already. Worst parts. The competitive side of some games. The companies that make a good few of them being incompetent. Games Workshop throwing away sales by not letting Chaos players use Heresy-era stuff in their 40k armies. Warlord Games wasting the Doctor Who license by making models purely for promotional purposes, or to tie into new episodes instead of actually making stuff that would fit in Wargaming armies when they had a Doctor Who wargame at the time. Okay, gonna be honest with you, Wanton, not a Doctor Who fan because I'm a normal functioning human being, but I get what you mean by companies not taking advantage of the licenses that they have. Got you on that one, completely with you on that one. Again, I think that's one of the major reasons why Games Workshop walked away from licenses, because the pressure is on to create something. And I'm really surprised they even went back to Tolkien. But I'm guessing Tolkien is such a big name that, why would you not, you know, back in the day. But, yeah, not using Chaos, Heresy-era stuff in the 40k armies. Okay. Is that a thing, Wanton? Is that actually a thing? Comment section, tell me. If I came to you with my Chaos army, right, and most of my Chaos Space Marines were slightly converted, or even not converted, legionaries from Horus Heresy, would you be bothered? You know, would you be bothered, really? Because I wouldn't. I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. Heresy era, cool. Right. Awesome. Yeah. I don't get that. I've not seen that. Is that an official Games Workshop stance? Because every Games Workshop I've ever known that plays games, which is none of them nowadays, but every Games Workshop that I've ever known that plays games, they generally didn't care. They were like, yeah, just you can use Horus Heresy models in store, just not massive Forge World ones because we don't sell them. But they do sell Horus Heresy in store. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe the comment section can fill that out for me. Freebird, yeah, says, the worst part of the hobby I see is the amount of rules lawyers during games. Example, and I quote, the tip of my sword on my guy can see the pinky toe of your guy. That means I can fire all my stuff at you. Unquote. Not very fun. All those who just want to play to win because that's all they want to feel or do. On a personal level, I really hate painting, so I don't enjoy it to the fullest extent that others would enjoy that part of the hobby. Okay, well, again, painting is a personal choice. I'm not going to go in on that one. That's your personal choice. I think you're right in saying that other players can be a bit pedantic when it comes to, you know, the tip of my sword can see your pinky toe, so blah, 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 I can shoot your entire unit. I get that. I think that is a failing of the rules. And it is another example of Games Workshop saying, you know, try not to be assholes with these rules, but no. You can't say that. As a game designer, your rules need to be black and white. You need to tell us what the rules are and why they're fair and how we should be playing them. Don't use guidelines. The minute you use guidelines, people will do things like, well, the finger I'm pointing, my model's finger is there, being pointed outwards. That can see your unit from around the corner, so I can fire at them with my entire squad. Right? That's how we end up here, right? When you don't give clear and concise rules, that is how we end up here. So whilst Freebird, I agree, people can be pedantic and it's really annoying, I also think at least 40% of the blame, maybe more, needs to fall on the company making those rules, because they're making them in a very grey way that makes very little sense. Moving on, the best sides are when you get to meet new people, yep, gone in that before, make new friends, and see what their interests are and how they see it through the army. That's really interesting, yeah. What are their interests and how they show it through the army that they're building and painting and playing? you know what? I've never thought about it that way. That's a really good way of thinking about it. Yeah, you're expressing something of yourself through your army, right? There are a lot of autistic people who play Iron Warriors. Just saying. Just saying. Like, I've come across them. That wasn't a joke. That was not a joke. Like, I literally. Maybe there's something in that. Maybe there's something in that. Also, if you get to play 40k the right way, a story of a mini battle inside a larger scale conflict in a massive setting, having a background setup or a narrative feel to a game makes it 100 times better than just a regular old game of 40k. I agree, dude. I agree. And Kaya, one of our mods, has said, best the Tyranids, worst everything else. You have to read that out loud, you promised. There you go. Dude, if I didn't already have a missus, I'd swear I was getting shouted at by one there. It's ridiculous. Anyway, those are your takes on what is best and worst about the hobby currently. Not just Warhammer, but across the board. So, what do you guys think? Do you have anything to add in the comment section down below? Do you want to reply to anything that I've said if you did come at me with some comments down there? Or maybe a bit of clarification what I've asked for during the video? Let me know. I'll be back tomorrow with some more hobby nightmares. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll speak to you very, very, very soon, alright? Have a good one. Bye now.